Well, hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 340. This is definitely in the future of forms. This is definitely the future of forms. This is for Friday, January 31st, 2025, from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
What a week, Tyler. What a week.
What a week, indeed.
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
I rearranged my set back here a little bit. I've got the old logo. Everything's reversed for me.
I know.
The old logo.
Remember that one.
Back in the day, old logo there. All of our new awards are up. Oh, it's exciting. You know, it's like you come in and it's like, wow, is this my office? What am I doing? I don't know. Man, we have got quite a bit of news with probably one of the biggest stories we've had in a very, very long time that's Zoho related. But before we get into that, how about we talk about team training?
Are you struggling to get your team trained in using Zoho effectively? Considering the hefty costs of team meetings and onboarding sessions dedicated to Zoho training, there has to be an easier way. Say hello to efficiency with our Zoho team training courses. Zoho CRM made easy. Become a project management pro, top-tier customer support, and maximize your marketing impact. Are you ready to equip your team? Start today at zenatta.com/training and let us lead the way.
All righty. Well, starting off the news, Sridhar Vembu, the CEO of Zoho, has stepped down, and Sailesh Kumar Devi is going to take his place. So this is interesting. I was just out in India, as we know, and as we've talked about, and I think I'm finally back to 100% after making that around the world journey. And Sridhar was out there and he was speaking, and I don't know. He didn't pull me aside and say, "Hey, Brett, I want to let you know there's some stuff that's about to go down." I just, you know what? It's just shocking to me. But he basically has stepped down, and he's going to move on to chief scientist role. And for me, a lot of this makes sense. I mean, Sridhar's passion has always been iterating.
Product.
What's the next level product? I mean,
Yeah.
Bill Gates did a similar thing at Microsoft, right? I don't know what role
Sometimes
he took,
it can just make sense, right? Like if you really feel you need to be in that role where you're focused on the product, the value, the research, big part of the chief scientist role, of course, is going to be working on AI and LLM tools. Honestly, I mean, him as a product guy is kind of what launched Zoho One and their whole strategy around linking products and the ecosystem. And so he's always had, obviously, a really good approach. Proof's in the pudding. It's a very popular application. So I think this honestly will be a good thing.
I do too. So here's how it's shaking down. And I did get something around this. So Sailesh Kumar Devi, I hope I pronounced your name there correctly, is now going to be the new group CEO. So, he's kind of overseeing everything. And so he was one of the co-founders, by the way, and he's been over at Manage Engine, which is another, not really part of Zoho at all, a whole separate company that these guys spun off a decade or so ago, if not more. It's been around quite a while. And then Manny Vembu is going to run Zoho.com. And I said, what is Zoho.com? It turns out that is the Indian operation, the operation over in India. So, which is just ridiculously large, right? And so Manny's running that. And then Tony Thomas, another co-founder way back in the day when this was originally, I thought it was just Tony and Sridhar. I hadn't heard of Mr. Devi before, but evidently it was the three of those guys. So Tony is now going to head up the US division. And then Manage Engine is now going to be run by Rajesh Ganesan. So he's going to take over Manage Engine, which was being run by Sailesh. And so here we go. So anyway, probably a good reorg. I mean, Sridhar's focused on a lot of things. Not only, I think, is the chief scientist stuff, but he's very, very, very interested in helping India in general, rural India, his, trans global nationalism. Did I get that right? Trans global nationalism. So. He's got these, he's basically going into small villages, building small offices, training people. They've got Zoho University. The campus they're building in Chennai is ridiculously, it's a city. It's a city.
Yeah.
With the, it literally is. It's got its own grocery store. It's daycare. It's just huge. And so, he's doing a lot there, and he's focused a lot there. And he seems to also be focused a lot in not only local politics, but national politics in India as well, and speak on some. So I think this kind of frees him up maybe to second half of life, pursue a bunch of stuff he wants to, and then focus on the things that matter for Zoho. So,
it makes a lot of sense. I mean, in what he wrote, he even said, he's like, I'm excited to get my hands back on some code. It's probably been a lot of time spent on administrative, the financing, all the other elements that go into being the CEO of a massive company like Zoho. So yeah, I don't blame him for wanting to get back into the fun technical stuff, right? Where he probably feels like he can just make a bigger impact. One of the things I do like about this too is I think it will be good for them to have a person who's more clearly and officially running the US. That's always kind of been like a nebulous topic, right? Like who specifically is in charge in the US. And so I think it could be good to just have someone, their name's on the door now, right? Like there's a clear US leadership structure that they're clearly trying to put together. So I think that's going to be a good thing.
Heck of a leadership team over here in the US. You've got Tony, you have Vijay, you have Rajesh, that are all based here in the US. I think Tony's in Pleasanton. I know that
he's been in
Vijay
too for a while.
And that's where Sridhar was living up until pre-COVID when he moved over to India. So anyway, big news on the kind of executive shakeup in the world of Zoho. So congrats to everybody. And moving on. All right, you've got so this is officially announced. This is the Zoho PDF Editor. It's a free online PDF editing tool. So you don't have to buy one anymore. We talked about this last year. This was kind of released in beta, but now it's been officially launched. Have you played around with it a little bit?
Yeah, I played around with it a bit. It's nice. I mean, it's obviously not like as full featured as something you're going to pay for, but it is a free tool that does a lot of the standard PDF stuff that you're going to want to work with. So like if you had a document, you need to add some overlaid fields or do things like that. You might as well give this a try. I know some of our team's been using it, just like if we get a document from a client, we need to make a small adjustment to it before we like load it in as a template or, whatever we're going to do with it. Works pretty well. It does have a split PDF option, which is nice. Just again, one less thing that you might need to pay for. So yeah, it's kind of like a why not, right? Like you kind of had features and functionalities of this in WorkDrive if you uploaded a PDF. I see it for them maybe as a bit of like a gateway drug thing, right? Like somebody goes online, they search free PDF editor. This one might show up and they're like, what is Zoho, right? And it might send them down the rabbit hole. So I think it's a good idea. It's like if you already have all the building blocks of this app and you can run it pretty inexpensively where you can offer it for free, why not? It's just one more way where they might show up and add some value for somebody down the road.
Yeah, I played around with it. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I didn't think it was particularly intuitive. There was a little bit of kind of hunting around for various controls where I thought, oh, why that should be here kind of thing. But it worked.
I felt about Writer for quite a long time, admittedly. So
I know.
Now I like it a lot.
So anyway, free PDF editor, gateway drug to the good stuff. All right, moving on. I thought this existed. This is crazy, but Zoho Desk now gets formula fields. So you can set up a custom field in Zoho Desk, and it's a formula field. So you can do things like, calculate service cost, ticket age, those kind of things. So very, very nice. If you use Zoho CRM, you know what a formula field is. You look at one field, it's got a value. You've got another field that's got a value. You create formulas, you add them, you multiply them, you divide them, they can come in very, very, very handy. So absolutely. I can see that in Zoho Desk, it would be exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and kind of the big two use cases I would think for this right out of the gate is doing math on numbers to have like cost, right? Like our hourly cost is on average 30, 40 bucks an hour. It took us 2 hours to solve the ticket. So the total cost is, the multiplication. The other one too is the dates. There's a lot inside of Zoho Desk around like date and deadline management, right? So an example that they actually give in this article is like, hey, the purchase date of this product was the 15th of June in 2023. I'm going to have a formula field that adds 1 year to that, and we're going to call that the warranty expiration date, right? So just those little things that you would have previously had to do with the deluge function, now you just don't need to do that, right? You can add a little formula field and it's going to get that job done for you. There's always going to be those more complicated things where you're going to want deluge, but this just eliminates a couple of the low-hanging fruits to make it more easily.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. And moving along, we probably should have done these in a different order here because PDF to PDF, but you now in Zoho Forms can upload a PDF and images, and it will translate them into a fillable form inside Zoho Forms. This is pretty big.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drop in
Just
a PDF,
a time
drop
saver.
in an image.
Yeah, big time saver. So yeah, if you've got like a random PDF, a big one I always see is like a vendor onboarding PDF that you send to people. We get a lot of those. It's like, man, this should be a form. So just take one of those, kind of read it through here. Now you're always going to want to double check, right? Double check this, read through all the fields just to make sure, right, that it got everything right. But yeah, I like this a lot just as a time saver rather than like clicking and dragging one field at a time. Just feed it in there, double check the output, and then you are off to the races.
Yeah, and a lot of, a few weeks ago, it was basically AI tools to generate forms. Build a customer onboarding form, and it's going to take a swag at it and format the form and give you the fields you think it thinks you need. Kind of the same kind of thing. So making Zoho Forms easier, more intuitive. So anything to help you get your start there. All right, moving right along. Zoho Recruit forms are now rule-based, dynamic, and contextual. So, it's funny. You have Zoho Forms. You have forms that live over in Desk that are standalone on their own. You've got forms that live in CRM that are standalone on their own. And you have forms in Recruit. Why, you ask? Why? Well, because some people buy products standalone and they're buying Zoho Recruit. And so in most cases, I would think you're going to want to use Zoho Forms and just connect it to Recruit if you own both of them. But if you don't, and you're just in Recruit, well, now you have basically a subset of the functionality that you have in Zoho Forms, and they've now made them dynamic and contextual. What does that mean? That means that basically by what you choose in one field, it's going to dynamically adjust the rest of the form and on. So nice.
Yep. Yeah, so hiding and showing, similar to layout rules inside of CRM. You can also make things attachment or make things mandatory, right? Which is nice. So really good. I mean, again, you can do all of these in Zoho Forms. So if you're on Zoho 1, you're probably already doing that. But like Brett mentioned, not everybody is. So great to have just more functionality here on these application forms.
Yep. All righty. And moving on to a things we've noticed. So shout out to John Bloomfield over in Club Zenatta. We have an entire section over there called Things We've Noticed. And he put in a couple of them. I wanted to highlight this one. Basically, the ability to switch from Zia to ChatGPT, but he found he couldn't do it if he had less than 20 licenses. That was kind of a limit you had.
Yeah, right? LLM was limited only for people over 20 licenses.
Right. So if you wanted to use their large language model inside of CRM, and you could use ChatGPT, but if you want to say, I don't want to pay for ChatGPT, I want to use Zia, you couldn't do it. Well, it's changed. And now he has found that it is available for him in Zoho 1. Is that what he was saying?
He did upgrade from Enterprise to Ultimate in CRM. So it could be that it's going to be included on the Ultimate tier regardless of the number of users. That would be my bet. But again, he did mention he looked before and it wasn't there, even though he was on Ultimate. So I'd be curious to see.
Rich commented that it was there for him as well. But Rich, I don't know if you went to Enterprise or not. So
let us know.
This is one of those things for us because we have early access and we always get it. We never know,
Yeah.
It's but check it out and try it. Have you played with the Zia LLM?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, the CRM implementation right now is pretty similar to what was already there with the OpenAI, where it's like the summary of an account, the rereading of an email, right? Those kind of activities. The one that I've played with a little bit more is the one inside of Desk, and that's pretty great. I mean, it's literally just writing ticket responses for you as long as you have like a robust knowledge base. So
Nice.
that one is extremely valuable. The CRM one, I think like it needs a little bit more functionality before I would say I'm like really excited to use it all the time, right? But it is a big step in the right direction. And as you know, as more people use it, it's going to get better and better, and they're going to find more opportunities to implement functionality.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this section of the show. Tyler, how about we get over to that implementation of the week?
All right, so this is one that I built out last week around migrating Salesforce files. These are like what they call attachments into WorkDrive folders that have been linked up with CRM records. So again, the goal there was we're doing Salesforce migration. There's some changes to like the data structure and layout that we're doing as we're migrating them. But one of the goals is that we have all these different files and attachments in Salesforce, and we want to get those into the appropriate WorkDrive folder that's linked up to a CRM account. So we are doing a bit of roll up, right? Where if something was attached to a deal, it's going to an account. Contact going to an account. Custom modules rolling up all on that account basis. So first thing we did is when we were doing the migration, we made sure to add the Salesforce ID for all records into those CRM fields, just to make sure that like we have that linking data inside of Zoho. Then we set up a quick little function like we oftentimes do that creates a WorkDrive folder for every account and links it back using the ID and the URL. Then what we did is we took all those files that came out of the export from Salesforce and we loaded them into just like a temporary team folder that exists inside of WorkDrive. I will highlight, this is a pain in the butt. Salesforce, when you run a data export, the maximum file size that they'll give you is 512 megabytes. So if you have a ton of attachments inside of Salesforce, it might give you like 100 zip files, and 99 of them only contain a folder of attachments. I truly, other than just making it hard to leave Salesforce, I don't understand why they would have that rule. It makes this a lot more annoying. But essentially what you can do is just grab all those files. You don't need to like roll them up into a parent, but just load them directly into the WorkDrive folder. So we've got like a whole bunch of folders in the team folder, each of them having a bulk of files inside of them. Each file, when it comes out of Salesforce via the backup tool, is not going to be named the same as it was in Salesforce. They're actually going to name it based on the file ID. So it's just going to be like a 20-character randomized string. So we're going to have to do a little work to get those where they need to be. So what we did is we set up a quick little SQL table in analytics that basically for each different record type inside of Zoho is going to roll them up to the CRM account ID, so that if I'm looking at contacts, opportunities, plans, locations, whatever it may be, I'm able to just join against one table and get the CRM account ID for any record that I'm working with in this migration. Then all we need to do, essentially set up a deluge function that's going to refer to this data table that I've created, where for each file ID, I have the file name that it should have, and I'm able to find the account ID in Zoho where we need to place it. And so then all I need to do is for each of those files, I essentially will make one API call to find them based on the file ID, one call to move them into the WorkDrive folder for the account, and then one more call to rename it. Unfortunately, I can't move and rename them in the same API call, so I just have to do two. And so from there on out, it's just running a schedule, right? That's looking at a batch of file IDs, looking for them in WorkDrive, and then when it finds them, moving them to the appropriate WorkDrive folder inside of, using the CRM link. So definitely an arduous one. It's made harder by the way that Salesforce gives you the data. And I didn't even get into all the nitty gritty here about like what they call all those folders. Like content version is where all the files live. Content document link is the magic spreadsheet that tells you what record they all go to. For listeners that are going to try this themselves, you also need to be aware that a lot of files are going to show up twice in the linking data. One where they're going to link to like the account, one where they're going to link to the user who uploaded them. So you're going to have to do some work to like do a check to try to filter out user IDs. It's just, Salesforce doesn't want to make this easy, so they choose not to. But it surely is possible just with a little bit of TLC and some clever deluge coding.
A little bit of a holy grail here, honestly. It's one of the biggest problems ever when doing a migration from Salesforce is getting the files over. Do they still give you, when you get your final backup from Salesforce, still a bunch of 500 megabyte zip files?
Yep, 500 megabytes, that's the max. And so, for this client, it's actually like north of 100 folders because they had a lot of attachments. And so it's, again, they do that for one reason, and we all know what it is. They don't want to make it easy to leave. It's not in their best interest. For the record, Zoho will just give you everything in one zip file. It's just a big zip file. So definitely possible. Took a little bit of TLC. You might need to make adjustments to this approach based on like the different modules that are relevant for you. But other than that, definitely a good one that we'll have in our back pocket for future migrations.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on the show as well, but I will kind of a little PSA out there. If you're a Salesforce user and you're thinking about moving to Zoho and you're watching this show because you found us, give yourself 90 days. Wouldn't you say, Tyler?
Yeah, the more time, the better. More time, the better. And like run a sample migration early, right? So like set up Zoho to capture the data. Don't worry about workflow and automation stuff. Once it's set up, grab a sample, put it in there. Make sure everything goes where it needs to go. Then build out the workflow automation. Then do that final migration and training. Because you don't want to wait for those last 2 weeks to start thinking about data migration because weird stuff can come up, right? That like you don't really expect, or, like I didn't expect when I went in there to see 2 versions of every file, one based on account, one based on user. It's like, oh, like that's weird. Why would they do that? You just want to get ahead of it, give yourself more time than you think you need, just so that, hey, worst case scenario, you have a buffer of a week or 2, and then you're happy camper. So always better to be early than late.
All right. And with that, let's head over to Club Zenatta and check out our code share of the week. All right, Andrew's at it here, and he's got functionality to dynamically add and remove tags from a deal. So if you don't know, Zoho added tagging, 5-6 years ago, longer than that, where you actually can put tags on pretty much any module. You can set up tags and drop your tags in. Oftentimes people come from CRMs or other environments where they have used tags, and so they're like, oh, it's great, I've got tags, and I can add tags. I would recommend you not use tags ever. I think you're better off setting up some other fields to handle those things. But if you're down that road and you're using tags, here you go. Here's some deluge functionality to help you automatically add and remove tags from a deal based upon, I imagine, some sort of action being taken in the record. Yes?
Yep, exactly. And I will highlight, like, if you're going to use tags, consider doing something like this. The big problem with tags, like why do we say that we don't like them? It's really more of a permission issue than anything else, because all it is a multi-select list, right, of different options. The challenge is if a user has the ability to manually add a tag to a record, you can't constrict that so that they can't create a new tag, right? That's the big thing. And so if you did have a system where, hey, tags are nice because they're color-coded, they're visually obvious, right? They are good in those senses. So if you're thinking about tags, if you can build a flow that automatically adds and removes them, I think they're going to work a lot better. The challenge is we'll go into a lot of systems and it's like, hey, these 3 tags that have popped up over time, they're synonyms. They mean the same thing. And so then it's a process of kind of like consolidating and coalescing them down. This is a nice one. Just shows you how to add, remove, review any of the tags on a record. We recommend doing it in an approach like this if you do like the visual nature of tags in your CRM.
All right. And if you don't know, Club Zenatta is our online community. All we require is your email, and you can join it and jump into our our discussions. Basically, it's just kind of anything and everyone. We've got thousands of members, and they're all helping each other out and asking questions and answering questions. And we've got members of our team in there helping out and answering questions. So if you've got an issue and you're looking for a very dynamic, engaged community, head over to club.zenatta.com and sign up today. And with that, let's head over to our website, zenatta.com, and check out our blog of the week. All right. Well, we're not even going to read this one, scroll through it, but basically this is your all-in-one pricing guide for Zoho. So we've only got one bundle in here. We're starting with the Zoho One bundle with the 2025 pricing, and then all of the pricing for a lot of the individual apps that are inside the Zoho One bundle as well. Is FSM officially in Zoho One now?
No, it is very much not, and it's actually better that it isn't, right? Because you could have a bunch of contractors that you don't want to have in Zoho One, so they charge on that per appointment basis.
Got it.
Which some people don't like, but I promise you, it is better for most organizations to do it that way.
So the good news is Zoho very rarely changes their pricing. It was a big deal when Zoho One moved up a little bit. I think they had a 15% price increase, kind of a 15% in general price increase about 3-4 years ago, right?
Yep.
They really don't change their prices very much. But if you're wondering just kind of a one-stop shop as to where the heck or what are the pricing around all of these, well, we break it all down for you. And we put the little video in to kind of, because we've done videos on virtually every single one of these products. So you can go through and check out the pricing and say, gosh, do I want to use this? That pricing seems good. And then kind of dive into it as well. Also, if you are over on Zenatta, please check out our resource library. And here we break down all of the latest Zoho apps, or all of the apps, and kind of give you a deep dive as to, what they're about. And, the pros, the cons, those kind of things. I intentionally, if you're watching us on YouTube, clicked into Zoho Books. We're going to next week announce a bunch of big changes and updates to Zoho Books. One of the things on our resource library we have here is that Zoho Books doesn't support progress billing. No longer true. So we'll be making some updates to this across the board. And it may be Zoho Books is getting ready to move up to the top category.
Payroll
here.
thing is the last one, and I know Zoho Payroll's come quite a long way. So
it has
closing in. It's closing in on moving up a rank.
So check out our resource library. Click into any app. Pretty much every single piece of content we produced is organized there, so you can kind of drill down on it. I think this is probably the most utilized part of our website. There are probably over 1,000 pages here. There's a lot of pages of data and kind of go through. So check that out as well. And thank you for stopping by. With that, let's head over to YouTube and check out our tips of the week. Tyler, you are a busy, busy, busy man. So you're giving us not one, but 2 tips this week. And the first one is kind of just what we were talking about, how to migrate from Salesforce to Zoho CRM, a full step-by-step walkthrough.
Yep.
You got to love it.
Did you go into detail
around files?
Yeah, I go into detail around files. You can migrate files using the native migration tool. They're just going to land in the CRM attachments related list. So I go through. Middle section is a good one. I actually look at the Salesforce files themselves and give some tips. You kind of have to trick Zoho. If you're using files in Salesforce, not attachments, with most people are using files, they will import into CRM under the documents section, like the old pre-WorkDrive documents tab. So I give a bit of a tip here where you can trick Zoho into processing them into attachments by renaming some of the components of the files. I kind of run through that, show which fields to use where, how to actually do the import itself into CRM using the migration tool. This is a funny one because, look behind the curtain, like this video performance-wise on YouTube is not done well, like the number of views per day and everything. But I promise you, someone's going to stumble on this video a year from now and be like, oh my God, this is the best thing. Because it literally, I go through every step. Like you could do a basic migration yourself watching this video, but not many people will ever see it because the YouTube algorithm decided that it didn't like it. So for the YouTube listeners here, if you're looking at a Salesforce migration, I promise you this is worth the time. But yeah, definitely a funny one. I expected to do well. And yeah, the YouTube algorithm said, no, sir, this one will not be seen by anybody.
Yeah. Maybe there's something sinister going on behind the scenes. Huh? Who knows? Anyway, if you're thinking about migrating from Salesforce, you asked, and here you go. And moving on, we have another tip of the week. If you are a Zoho CRM user, this is a super nice one. How to set up and use sales funnels in Zoho CRM. I'm surprised we didn't have one of these videos before, but now we do.
Yeah. We kind of did in a few different ways, but one of the things I'm looking to do on YouTube is like, we'll make a video on adding custom fields, we'll make a video on workflows, and we'll make a video on dashboards, right? I'm trying to make sure we have some videos as well on like how to put those together, right? So now you know how to use those three pieces of functionality. What could you do with them? One of the things you could do is set up and use a sales funnel. So I basically show customizing your statuses and stages. We go through a few common workflows where I'll stamp some fields, make some tasks, and then we will actually go into the dashboard section and I'll show you how to use those funnel reports that are in CRM. They're really cool. They're very non-obvious how to actually set one up to give you like a lead to deal funnel. So I thought that would be a useful one for everybody because it's one of the biggest use cases for CRM. And it's not one that we've kind of covered end to end. Like we've talked about each of these things in their own videos, but let's put it together and actually build a process out of it. So should be a good one if you are configuring processes like this inside of your Zoho account.
Fantastic. Great job. Great job. Hey, and
Staying
everybody,
busy.
if you don't know, please head over to our YouTube channel, and it's youtube.com/Zenatta. All of our videos are there. We've got our sales funnel made easy, all of the tips, all of every single thing we just talked about. They're all here. Tyler went through all without me and did the Zoho 1 overview this year. Chopped about 36 minutes off of it. I don't know. Anyway, everything's here. You can find them here. You can find them over on our resource library, but we would sure love it if you would like and subscribe and ring the bell and do all of the things you need to do on YouTube. So we have a lovely new banner now too. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Very
It's
pretty.
got all of our awards here. Partner of the year. Our awardable Global Partner of the Year for Zoho CX Suite, Partner of the Year over at Inspire, Content Excellence. That's on you, buddy. That's on you.
I got that one right over here.
I know.
Yep.
Wow. There it is. There. All right.
It's busy week.
Yeah.
Busy week news.
Give yourself a pat on the back, Tyler. Give yourself
a little
pat on the back.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, man. Hey, everybody. Thanks again so much for tuning in. As always, if you watch this show, if you're watching one of Tyler's videos and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that, I want Zenatta to do it for me, well, head over to Zenatta.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see a big book a meeting. Click on book a meeting, and we would love to talk to you and see how we can help you with what you've got going on with your Zoho.
And over on the website is also where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. If you want that news delivered straight to your inbox every Monday morning, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. And last but not least, we always appreciate when you like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
The CRM Zen Show was produced by Podcaster Zen.
The Zoho and the YouTube and the Facebook, they're all there. We got them all. Thank you, everybody.